Today we're making these mango peach hand pies. These are so delicious. They're gonna be ready in less than an hour, and we're gonna be using store-bought puff pastry for a really easy dessert. Hi, I'm Tara with Simply Made Eats, and welcome to my channel. Today we are making these mango peach hand pies, and we're getting started early. I still have coffee in hand. These are super simple. We're gonna be using a store-bought puff pastry, and everything just comes together really easy. These are filled with mango and peach and really sweet, and I know you're gonna absolutely love them, so let's get started. So the first thing we're gonna do is cut up our mango. I know this is like intimidating, but I promise it's not scary. This is a green mango. I'm using this instead of the yellow skinned because it's gonna be a lot more sweeter. The yellow tend to be a little bit more sour, and these are my absolute favorite. So the first thing I'm gonna look for is this little notch. This one's a little bit weirder than usual, but you're gonna look for this. That's gonna be our first cut. For the mango, you just wanna make your first cut at that notch, and then just go around and cut down each side. You're gonna have 4 big pieces of mango. Next, you just wanna make grid lines in the mango. Don't go all the way through the skin, but just right to it. And then you're just gonna use a spoon just to scoop it out. So mangoes are definitely one of those fruits where like you don't really know what you're getting until you cut into it. This one is really good and sweet, but it's a little bit harder than I want it to be. It's still super yummy. My suggestion for this is to buy a couple of them. That way, like, you only need 1 mango for this recipe. That way you can cut a couple if you need to. You can always like feed the first one to the kids if it's a little bit on the harder side. Another solution is just to cut it really nice and fine, which is what I'm gonna do. I have some more mangoes, but I feel like this one is still really gonna be delicious in the recipe. So I'm just gonna cut it nice and fine. That way when we cook our peach and mango sauce for our filling, it's gonna really just like cook down, and these are gonna become nice and tender. Once you get your mango diced nice and fine, you can go ahead and add it to the bowl, and then we're gonna get started on our peaches. Reminds me of like that. Have your kids been singing that song? It's like, peaches, 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 peaches from Mario. Like, I swear like that's the only song we sing in the house now. It's so funny. All right, for peaches, we want them nice and soft, not mushy, not rotten, but nice and soft. You do not want hard peaches in this, so the same thing. Make sure you buy like double. We need 3 peaches for this recipe, so just go ahead and buy 5 or 6, then you can let the other ones ripen on the counter. For the peaches, you want to just use a paring knife just to get all that skin off. I feel like this is the easiest way to do this without losing like most of the peach. I've got some serious bruises on this one that I'm gonna chop off. That's why I like having 3. That way, like if you have a couple pieces that just need to get chopped off, you can do that really easily and still end up with enough peaches. I liked this to kind of be the star of the recipe, especially because we're like in July now and it's kind of like peach season, so I just love peaches. They're so sweet. We're not gonna have to use a lot of sugar for this recipe, which is really nice. Okay, and then for the peaches, we're just gonna cut down the sides, close to the pit, and then you just wanna chop these nice and fine too. You can add these right into your mango bowl. These peaches are really juicy, so they're gonna give off a lot of liquid in our filling, but that's fine because it's actually gonna help us. We're gonna use cornstarch to kind of thicken it up, and it's just gonna like create like this really yummy sauce. We're gonna keep going with our filling. I've got a 1/3 cup of granulated sugar here, and I'm just gonna mix in 2 teaspoons of cornstarch. I like to whisk this together just so we don't get any clumps from the cornstarch. Just seems to help a little bit. And give this a good whisk. Okay, next we're gonna get a saucepan ready, and we're gonna add in all of this fruit filling. Next we're gonna add in our sugar and cornstarch. And then we just have a little bit of lemon juice and zest. We're just gonna stir this up really well. Okay, so I'm gonna get this going on the stove over medium heat. I'm also gonna preheat the oven to 425 degrees. You wanna cover the pot just so it can bring it to a boil a little bit faster. And then you're gonna reduce the heat to low and you're gonna cook this for 10 minutes, stirring once halfway through. And keep the cover on the whole time. Once your filling's done, just give it a little taste test. Make sure you let it cool off a little bit first though, because it's super hot. So it should be like softened, but not mushy at all. This is perfect. So I'm just gonna push it off the heat and we're gonna allow it to cool for about 5 minutes or so. So while our filling is cooling off, we're gonna get some cinnamon and sugar mixed together. This is just gonna go on top of those pastries. They're gonna be so good. Just whisk this up. And next we're gonna get an egg wash going. So I just got 1 egg. Go ahead and crack that. And we're just gonna add in a teaspoon of water. And just give it a nice whisk. Okay, now we're gonna take a cookie sheet and unroll our puff pastry dough. This is a fresh puff pastry dough. You can definitely use frozen, just make sure it's completely thawed. I like these too because they have like parchment paper right on them. Okay, so once you've got your puff pastry rolled out, you wanna flatten it really good so there's not a whole bunch of creases in it. And then we're gonna cut this. It's gonna make 4 pastries. So we're gonna cut this long ways 4 times and just try and get it pretty even. Just like that. And then you just can separate them a little bit. Okay, and I'm actually gonna pull these off and just go ahead and add another piece of parchment paper to this. It's just easier to work with that way. Okay, now we're just gonna grab one of our pastries, just like that. And we're gonna take our cooled filling on one side and just add some filling, just right in the center. And we're gonna take this side and just fold it right over top into a nice little rectangle, just like that. And then you just wanna work it together just a bit. We're gonna add some fork marks to it to really close it up. I always feel like Snow White when I do this. This is just gonna help so that the filling doesn't leak out at all. I'm also gonna take my paring knife and just make 2 little slits, just like that. Okay, so once we get our hand pies all ready, we're just gonna brush them with some egg wash. And just an important tip here, guys, do not overfill them. I tried to overfill this one up top and it got kind of ugly, so I don't recommend, but there's nothing I can do now, so we're gonna keep it like that. But just give it a nice egg wash all over the top. It's gonna make it like really shiny and just puff up perfectly. So don't skip this step, I promise it is worth it. Okay, and then I just like to sprinkle on some cinnamon sugar over the top. This is optional, but it's so good. How could you not wanna do this? Now we're gonna pop these in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, so these look amazing. They're also huge. So I would say like, really like a half of one is a serving. You can see the filling in there. It looks so good. I gotta have a bite of this. I'm probably gonna burn my face off. I just take a little bite. Hot. So good. That filling is amazing. I love it in this little puffy crust. That's it, we're all done with these easy peach mango hand pies. I hope you guys decide to make them. Let me know in the comments if you do. Make sure to subscribe so we can keep cooking together. I share new recipes every single week. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.